Hey YouTube, mksvnt here out of Webster, Mass. Well, another day in Greece is another day of riots. You know, I asked myself this a few months ago. I says, what are they rioting about? According to mainstream media, you know, those guys had a good life. They just didn't save enough money. You know, they didn't. They want to retire earlier instead of later in life. So what the hell, you know? But now I'm starting to understand what they're talking about when they say austerity, because I just recently found out what the true meaning of austerity is. Austerity is when you take your bills and you take your money, you put them on the table in front of you, and you say, okay, I got this much to go here, this much to go there, this much to go here. I got to cut back on my bills to make sure that I got enough money to cover that. That's austerity, believe it or not. That's called a budget here for me and you. But austerity is when you take something that you're spending too much money on and move it back so you can afford it, or cut it out altogether. That's austerity. So that's what Greece is saying they're doing. The problem is, it's not austerity. It's not austerity when somebody else comes up and says, you have to do this, you have to do that, and if you don't, there's going to be consequences. That's tyranny. Austerity is voluntarily done, and the people of Greece don't really want to do that. They want to say, stop the spending altogether, get these crooks out of here. And they're calling them crooks because what happens is they take an agreement to get money from this IMF, which prints its own money. And under UCC regulations, a contract has to be between two people. And each one has to have a loss vested into this, or a gain invested in this. I mean, it's on equal ground. You can't make a contract with somebody without putting something up at risk for yourself. Well, what happens is the IMF doesn't do that. They give the money, which they printed. They owned the paper and the ink that it went on, so they print it and they give it to these guys. There's no real loss there. They just lost ink and paper. But to hold it over their heads as debt, where they create $100 and then send you home $120, and they own the ink and the paper, how does it work out that they're going to be able to pay back the $120 when you only gave them $100 and you own the money? So now they want compensation: land, water structure, infrastructure, police, military, land, big land, islands of land, for like billions of dollars that they want to write off at the end of the whole dealings over there. They just want to say, okay, we'll take an island instead of that $7 billion, but you still owe us $2 trillion more. So what else you got? According to UCC regulations, two parties have to have a loss in this deal, and the only people that are losing is the Greeks, the Greek people. The government made the deal with the IMF. The IMF is a crooked circle that they get you in debt, they keep you in debt, and they don't let you out of debt. Now, we've all heard it. You go to your bank, you buy a house, they say, okay, if you pay this off, you've got to pay this much more money. If you pay it off even earlier, you've got to pay this much more money. It's a way to set you up in debt, keep you there, and not let you out. So the people of Greece are saying, enough of these contracts, they're fraudulent, the IMF needs to leave. Well, it sounds right. I mean, that's common sense. Problem is, the IMF has weaseled their way in there and gotten their own people appointed, not elected, in a democratic society like Greece. They were the founders of the democratic society. They're the ones that came up with the plan of, we run the government because, you know, it's our decision who leads us, not somebody else. No kings, no queens are going to tell us what to do. So we got a situation here now in Greece, and it's also going on in Portugal, Spain, Italy. Iceland went through it and they came out fine. Argentina went through it and they came out fine. Why did they come out fine? Because they kicked the freaking thieves out. They put the bankers in jail for using fraudulent activity to manipulate the country. That's what happens. It has to happen here. Ron Paul says it in a little different way. He says we need to liquidate this debt. We need to just forget about it. It's done. You can't fix it. You can't repair it. You can't print more money to pay it, because then you owe more money. It's a cycle. And it's going like that everywhere in the United States. The banks have fraudulently done over and over and over on the mortgage issues, robo-signing, no income verification. They lied to the investors that was investing in these properties that they selling. So back to Greece and the rest of Europe. They print the money, they give them the money, they say you're going to pay us back more money, or we take your property, something of real value, because their money isn't worth anything. So it's a debt cycle. And that goes on and on and on and on and on. Many people stop paying their mortgage due to the fact that there was fraudulent activities, and people are saying enough. You know, it ain't that we're trying to get a house for free, but it's the banks that are manipulating my life to honor this debt that they never even lost any on. They've been getting payments on this house since it was built in the 1850s. They've had bank after bank after bank after owner paying these banks the money that was supposed to be owed to them, but after 200 years of paying that mortgage, the bank still owns the house. Something's wrong with that. That's not fair and equal at all. That's UCC violation right there. You have to have something that you're going to stand to lose in a contract. If you enter into contract with somebody, you guarantee this happens. You don't guarantee that happens. But that's fine. That's the way a contract is supposed to go. Problem is, you have to have a loss involved here. There has to be two people who have a loss in the middle of it between them. So we've been just, blindly going along and paying the rent and paying the bills and trying to scratch our way through life while our kids are in school for another 3 hours a day, then go to a babysitter so my wife and I can go to work to meet the need, to pay the bills, to pay off the debt. And in the middle of all this shit, the taxes. Taxes are another way to get the money out of your hands into the government. The income tax is completely volunteer. Did you know that? It's voluntarily done. It's right in their own paperwork. They don't tell you that. They don't want you to know that. But it's true. It's voluntarily done. State taxes, I'm not too sure about it. But federal tax, you're not supposed to be able to, you're not supposed to have to pay that. That's volunteer, just like Social Security. And I hope that you already know that Social Security is supposed to be voluntarily done. They just don't allow you to have that volunteer word in there. They just make it so. Like Jean-Luc Picard running the enterprise. Make it so. Well, people need to wake up. They need to understand that we're in a situation where we're not going to get out of. It's the boot on our neck, and we can't get up until we say enough. But one at a time ain't going to work. We need to do it a lot at a time. So when we turn around tomorrow and we go out and we go about our business in a day, think about how many times you put money into a register and how many times you slide that card. And each time there's a little percentage that comes off that card. Your credit. It's not money now, it's called credit. In the bank, when you don't have money on you, it's called credit. And when every time you slide that card, the bank rings up maybe 0.5% or 1%. But when the banks tally up 380 million people in just this one country, and there's 300 or 400 countries out there that's doing this with the banking system and the IMF control, they're making a lot of money. They're making billions of those 1% each time you slide your card. You might do it 3 or 4 times a day. If you're a shopaholic, you might be doing it 20 times a day. But the banks are making money off of that. That's why they want to get rid of cash. Also, if you have to have a cashless society, you are not able to go to your neighbor and say, I want to buy your lawnmower. He's got to have a machine to slide your whole deal, and they still get their money. But then you got to pay for the machine to do that. You see how this is working, right? This is an anaconda squeeze on us. We're all getting squeezed here. And whether you have enough food in your fridge and your kids are all going to colleges, or you know, everything's nice, that's fine, great, good for you. But it ain't gonna last, because they're gonna squeeze you too, and they're starting to do it already. Now the cops over in Greece, a lot of them are standing by and saying, let the people riot. It's their houses, it's their towns, it's their representatives that screwed them. Let them do it. Other ones are saying, let's put the bankers in jail, because this is all fraudulent activity. They've done this underhandedly. They've usurped our government, and they're taking away our rights. It's gotten so bad now that the IMF has appointed people to lead that country. No more democracy. You don't have a choice. IMF rules the world, and you will do what we say. If you don't, you go to jail, which they own too, through the banking system, through printing money. Okay, and if you can make more things illegal to do, better for them. Another one to jail. That new road broken, off to jail. They go to jail, they sit in their cot every day, they work in a little shop for peanuts, which is slavery. Okay, it's slavery. Giving somebody fair wage for their job is not slavery, it's compensation. So now you got a whole prison system pumping out material for short money, a couple pennies a day. So you see where all this can lead to, right? I mean, it's just one hand and all these little fingers off that one hand, but it always goes back to the same hand. Everything revolves around the hand. The fingers don't matter. You could chop a finger off, you still got 4 more. In their case, they got 10 million more. They got 10 million fingers. They can lose a couple hundred. It's not going to hurt them. But if you chop off the hand, if you chop off the hand by saying, no more, we're not going to deal with your banking anymore. The monetary fund is fraudulent, and it's one-sided, and it's geared to wreck everything in its path and consolidate it to a manageable situation where just a few people need to run it. That's what it's about. You know, Rockefeller, I think it was Rockefeller or Rothschild, one of them said, I care not who runs the country. Give me their money and their ability to spend the money, I control the nation. This is somebody that said this 100 years ago or so, and it's pretty much true. So next time you go to the store and you swipe that card, just keep in mind that you just gave the bank some money. All right? And every time you go to the store and use that EBT card, you just gave JP Morgan more money, because that's who's sponsoring the EBT cards. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, JP Morgan is completely all in on this EBT thing. Do you remember years ago you had to go to the store and go get green stamps? Or you had one store that you had to go to and use that money that was in the store? It was only the green stamps you could use? Well, why did that change? Why did they give it to everybody and you can go anywhere? And now they're pushing these little mom and pop shops to accept EBT, because the banks own it. And the more people on EBT, the more the banks make. It's kind of sick if you go through it one thing and another. It always points back to the same hand, the banking system. I'm running out of time. I'm going to make another video, probably dealing with some human rights issues and unalienable rights that we all have, and that were given to us by our Creator, whichever it may be, Allah, Yahweh, whatever you call your Creator. We'll be dealing with that in the next video. All right, have a good day, folks. Be safe.